Good morning, everybody. Brian Neubert here again from goldenblack.com. It is Monday, May 25th, Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day. I hope everyone got your lawn mowed this weekend, got your weed whacking done, maybe did something fun under these circumstances. This is your goldenblack.com Daily Quarantine Simulcast for, again, today, Monday, May 25th. It is brought to you by Follett's Purdue Bookstores, Purdue Federal Credit Union, the 6th Street Dive Restaurant, First Source Bank, East End Grill, and the Charters Team Remax Ability Plus. Want to remind you, as always, if you're looking for a hell of a dinner or to simply support our local restaurants as they hopefully get through the final phases of this very difficult period, please keep in mind the 6th Street Dive, East End Grill, Arnie's, Bruno's, Whitaker Inn, and Triple X. All of them remain open for carryout. I believe some are phasing back into traditional seating. Nevertheless, please keep them in mind. If you're accessing this video on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Soon, hopefully, the world will start to spin on its axis once again. Our normal Purdue coverage patterns will resume, and we will have lots of stuff coming through that page. So please hit that subscribe button. This will be relatively quick because it has to be, because my seat here in my office is next to this gigantic window. It is hot as hell outside. The ceiling fan cannot be turned on while I do this thing because the whirring sound is very distracting. So what I have to do is be brief in this case before I start profusely sweating, which would be unpleasant for both of us. I really struggled to come up with a topic today. I originally told our message board I wasn't going to do one of these today for that reason. I just decided at the last second, for the sake of continuity, and because I think like this might be the last week I do these quarantines, I didn't want to miss a day. I just figured I would babble for a few minutes about kind of the off season. Again, I know this is a topic we have talked about quite a bit in these segments, but it's also a living, breathing sort of topic because it's been an evolving process. Where that process is right now, I think the news is relatively positive. I think what you're going to see, Purdue does not have any sort of stated policy on this yet, but I think you're seeing a lot of programs set their stated policies. I'd imagine Purdue will say something this week about a return to activity. I don't want to say a return to normal activity because I don't know what the activity is going to look like, but I think there's going to be a return here very shortly to some activity, which is better than nothing. What we've been dealing with here, obviously, has been basically a stagnation of life as we know it. From an athletics perspective, obviously, Purdue's athletic facilities have been closed for a long time now, but I would expect the start of June teams to report. I would expect freshmen most likely to be part of that. They will arrive on campus basically as scheduled, and some measure of off-season program will begin. In football, obviously, that means the weight room, that means strength training, that means nutrition, that means acclimation to campus in some form, even though there will not be in-person classes. In basketball, I assume that would mean some sort of skill development work, obviously their weight program and whatnot. Whether or not basketball will be able to have its traditional off-season full team, 13, 14-man practices, that I don't know. I don't know what sort of protocols are going to be in place for off-season workouts, but there will be off-season workouts nonetheless. Assuming this to be true, that this will happen, that in June, Purdue's teams will arrive on campus and begin working out. And I am largely speculating here, but I am educating. It is educated speculation because I do believe Purdue is moving in this direction. We have a lot of reasons to believe this, but also everyone else in the country, a lot of people around the country seem to be moving toward this sort of thing. This is almost a best case scenario because what you've lost here, I mean, under the circumstances, this is a best case scenario. Assuming June is a jumping off point for resuming to activity, what you've lost is minimized. I think starting in June, that still gives you a relatively meaningful window for a productive off-season, more so for basketball than football because basketball has such an extended window into its season, a much more extended window into its season, plus the fact that all of this lost time for basketball has been time it would be relatively slow otherwise. Football obviously has a shorter runway into its season. I think they are going to have to make up some ground any way possible. Not that that's necessarily possible, but you're also going to have to squeeze in spring practices, most likely for anybody who missed out on spring practices. Purdue got a good chunk of its spring season completed. But this will give people, I think, an opportunity to at least salvage something for this offseason. The people who are going to be affected the most by this were the incoming newcomers. And I think if you get a good 2 months, June, July, and then going into August, obviously we don't know what the season's going to look like, so we don't know what the runway looks like. And let's see how many times I can use the word runway in one video. But June and July at least give you a good 2 months to get something done as opposed to nothing. It gives those freshmen an opportunity to at least be around their programs, to be around their new teammates in some form, to get some sort of acclimation to a college strength program, whatever it may be. If June is the jumping off point here in terms of this return to activity, that's not the worst outcome that could have happened here. I do think this is a major step in the right direction, assuming this plays out as expected. It is only a step, however. It is not a destination. This is an answer to one question, but only the first of many. I think things are trending toward there being football in the fall, as I've said. From day one, they are going to find a way, because when you put an obstacle between motivated, intelligent, powerful people and millions of dollars, that obstacle is very rarely going to stand much of a chance. But I do think things are trending toward there being football in the fall. In what form, I have no idea. I would not take it for granted. It is not a sure thing yet. You know, society is basically reopening in phases here. I view this sort of as half measures. And we're going to have to see how the world, as we know it, responds to all of us coming out of our houses, the majority of us coming out of our houses, anyway, kind of rubbing our eyes and reacclimating to the fresh air and the sunshine and, you know, open businesses and whatnot. If this sets us back, chases us back into our holes, you know, there are no guarantees here. I've said from day one, the SEC, the Southeast, should have had a promotional campaign, a PSA going, where Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney, I know he's not in the SEC, but that portion of the country, get on TV together and they say, if you want football in the fall, stay home now. That kind of thing. Never really happened, but what's happening now, what happened then can't be taken back. What's happening now is going to go a long way in determining whether or not there's football this fall, whether or not fans can be part of it, because we have to get through this reopening to see what happens. If this leads to more outbreaks, if this leads to more forced closures on businesses, you know, the worst outcome here is that we end up with more outbreaks, more deaths, and more economic turmoil, because we realized that we probably moved a little bit too quickly here. Businesses have to close down, or people aren't comfortable enough participating in an economy. And an economy that people will not participate in is not a healthy economy. So I got a little bit sidetracked here by talking about the bigger picture, whereas I just wanted to talk about kind of these off-season workouts. But the larger point here was that these off-season workouts starting up would represent a positive outcome under the circumstances, an answer to a question, but only an answer only to a question that is the first of many questions still to come. Purdue, or whoever it may be, Michigan, Ohio State, the University of Denver, whoever it may be, resuming sports activities in June still does not guarantee, A, that there will be football in the fall, or B, that fans will be present. I still think the starting point here is just get football played. You don't want a gap in your sports history. You want to at least recoup the TV money if you can. College sports is a different deal. You need the game day revenue on top of the TV money, but there was never going to be an easy out on this. And my stance on the matter has always been start with worrying about TV money and then kind of go from there. It does appear as if things are trending toward football. Football presumably returning to activity here next month is a step in the right direction for sure, but not the destination. Simply a step in the right direction. So that's what I got. The room is starting to warm up here, so I got to get this fan back on. To do that, I have to close out this video. So I hope everyone, again, is having a great Memorial Day, a good 3-day weekend, and this has been your goldenback.com Daily Quarantine Simulcast, brought to you once again by Falls Purdue Bookstores, Purdue Federal Credit Union, the 6th Street Dive Restaurant, First Source Bank, East End Grill, and the Charters Team Remaxability Plus. Want to remind you once again, I know a lot of these restaurants are opening up for regular seating over time here, but please keep in mind the 6th Street Dive Restaurant, East End Grill, Arnie's, Bruno's, the Whitaker Inn, and Triple X. If for nothing else, for carryout orders. If you want a really good meal and to support our local businesses as they hopefully play out the last few weeks of this obviously very difficult time, I'd appreciate it if you keep them in mind. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you, and you will hear from me again tomorrow, Tuesday, May 26th. So thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your holiday.